From the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Wednesday, April 30th. I'm Abby Larico. The floral industry is dealing with two thorny issues: tariffs and cuts to federal funding.
You can't have it both ways. You can't try to drive business back to this country while not helping us be ready for it.
As florists turn to domestic options, St. Louis area flower farmers say it will be tough to meet the demand without government help. That story coming up after this news on The Gateway. Illinois State Police say a Chatham woman was behind the wheel of a vehicle that slammed into an after-school childcare facility in that central Illinois village this week, killing 4 people. 44-year-old Marissanne wasn't hurt, but was taken to a hospital for evaluation. No charges have been filed as of this morning as the investigation continues, and results of toxicology tests are pending. 4 people at the Why Not After School camp, ranging in age from 7 to 18 years old, died at the scene. 6 others were hurt. 1 is in critical condition. The crash happened just after the school day ended Monday. A next-door neighbor heard it, and Tyler, who asked that we not use his last name, was the first to call police.
And as soon as I rounded that corner, saw the whole back of the building blown out, and I'm thinking, oh no, she went through the building. And so I start kind of going up towards the vehicle, and I looked to my left, and then I saw a child, and I was like, oh no, this is much worse than I initially thought.
Local schools canceled classes until Friday. St. Louis Mayor Kara Spencer has asked the region's mass transit agency to pause a proposed expansion of Metrolink. St. Louis Public Radio's Rachel Littman has more on the announcement.
Bi-State Development Agency will continue engineering work and an environmental study that are already underway, but it will not apply for any federal grants until Spencer gives her okay. Original plans called for a 17-mile-long route, but the current project runs less than 6 miles at a cost of about $1.1 billion. Spencer says she's concerned it won't be able to compete for federal money.
I've had some concerns about that for some time now. And then, of course, with the new federal administration, I think it's even more challenging to meet those requirements.
The city and Bi-State have spent about $13 million on the expansion so far. I'm Rachel Littman, St. Louis Public Radio.
Mayor Spencer has also decided to end an embattled city program designed to stabilize deteriorating buildings. St. Louis Public Radio's Eric Schmid reports the Stable Communities STL pilot program had been established with American Rescue Plan Act funding.
The program had been allocated some $13 million in ARPA dollars that the city's building division used to make repairs to private properties and then bill those owners for the work. But the program ran into problems when local reporting raised questions about whether the work that was billed to owners was actually being performed, prompting Mayor Spencer to pull the plug. Laura Ginn is a vacancy strategist with the St. Louis Development Corporation.
This was stood up as a pilot, but then the pilot was never closed and evaluated. It just kept going.
Ginn says the tool of billing property owners for work that brings them up to code is an important one. She says she hopes the new mayoral administration will consider ways to continue using it to stabilize buildings. I'm Eric Schmid, St. Louis Public Radio.
Proposition A will be upheld. That's after the Missouri Supreme Court ruled yesterday that the ballot language was not misleading or inaccurate. Prop A was voter approved in November. It increases the minimum wage to $15 an hour and mandates paid sick leave for employees. The sick leave portion goes into effect Thursday. Business associations sued over the results, arguing that the summary and fiscal impact statement on the ballot were unfair and misleading to voters. They also argued that in addressing both minimum wage and paid sick leave, the proposition violated a rule that says every ballot item can only pertain to one subject. 6 of the 7 Supreme Court justices ruled in favor of Prop A. The 7th said she didn't believe the Supreme Court should have jurisdiction in this case. A full ban on child marriage in Missouri now only needs the governor's signature to become law following a bipartisan final vote in the Senate. St. Louis Public Radio's Evie Lewis reports on why supporters say the ban is needed.
Under current law, 16 and 17-year-olds can get married with parental permission if the other party is under 21. Supporters of a full ban on child marriage say that allowing teenagers to marry leaves them vulnerable to abuse and human trafficking, among other dangers. Married teenagers still lack the legal rights of adults, meaning they cannot initiate divorce or access domestic violence shelters and other resources. Ferguson Democrat Rachel Prouty spoke in support of the bill in the House.
But what we should not be doing is allowing for minor children to enter into legal contracts that they have no judicial approach to get themselves out of.
The bill passed the House by a wide majority and passed the Senate with only one no vote. In Jefferson City, I'm Evie Lewis, St. Louis Public Radio.
The floral industry has a new thorn in its side: tariffs. In the U.S., the bulk of cut flowers making their way into floral shops are imported. The Trump administration's tariffs mean local florists might have to pivot toward homegrown alternatives, but as St. Louis Public Radio's Marissanne Lewis-Thompson reports, local flower farmers say it will be a challenge to meet the demand without federal funding.
Walking up the gravel road through the iron gates of Queen Bee Bloom's flower farm, you're instantly hit with the intoxicating smell of fresh flowers.
I can smell it already. Okay, I'm going to make you put on glasses the way I see things. We're going to stop right here. How's that sound?
That's the queen bee herself, Luli. We're walking through her 164-acre Spanish Lake floral paradise. It's filled with all sorts of goodies, including viburnum, pink dogwood, and cherry blossoms. Luli is on a mission to get more people to see the value in flowers native to the U.S.
I am probably one of the luckiest flower farmers.
In February, her farm was approved for a grant through a USDA program that would have allowed her to extend her growing season and install a well.
I mean, I had a couple hours of just elation. And then the next morning, the news was that all the funding was being clawed back.
The federal government struck again when the Trump administration's first wave of tariffs put the floral industry in an economic bind. She says meeting the demand for local florists will be a challenge for farmers without that federal support to expand.
You can't have it both ways. You can't try to drive business back to this country while not helping us be ready for it.
Roughly 80% of cut flowers sold in the U.S., including heavy hitters like roses and tulips, are imported from places like Ecuador, the Netherlands, and Colombia.
It's kind of a wait-and-see kind of moment, which is maddening for the flower farmer because everything we do is a year in advance.
That's Mima Davis, co-owner of Urban Buds. It's an urban flower farm in St. Louis. She's currently harvesting ranunculus for the Tower Grove Farmers Market.
Now is my time to place my order for next season, but I have no idea what the market is going to do.
Davis has been in the flower farming game for 30 years, and right now, she and her crew are trying to navigate a new level of uncertainty. Thinking about what the tariffs will mean long-term weighs on her.
It would mean cutting back, becoming smaller. I'm already a small farm. How small can I be?
The tariffs are heightening a decades-long problem in the industry, dating back to the 90s. The U.S. promoted flower growing in South American countries to boost the economy as an alternative to drugs. Tariffs were then eliminated from their cut flowers. Davis says that shuttered mom-and-pop glass greenhouses in the U.S.
Because all of a sudden, Ecuador was shipping roses, chrysanthemums, all kinds of crops, flooding the market at a very cheap price.
Wholesalers are already telling florists they might need to eat the extra cost or pass it on to their customers. That's something local florist Amari Baswa wants to avoid.
One way I'm doing that is by trying to utilize local growers. We have several in the St. Louis area, thankfully, who grow really unique things.
The good news is she already gets some of her stash from Urban Buds. The owner of Noon Moon Bloom Co. in Edwardsville says, as a small Black-owned business, the tariffs are a hard pill to swallow.
Because we do already have contracts and things planned out for our future, so I think initially it was a little bit of worry, like, what am I going to do in this situation? How is that going to affect us?
As the tariff war wages on, flower farmers say the best thing people can do is take advantage of the flowers that are native to and seasonally available in the U.S., as well as support their local growers. I'm Marissanne Lewis-Thompson, St. Louis Public Radio.
Our Jonathan All edited that piece. One more note before we go this morning. and it's a difficult goodbye. Today is Eric Schmid's last day at St. Louis Public Radio. He's been with us for nearly 6 years and has told a lot of great stories. Eric came to STLPR through the Report for America program and was a trailblazer on our Metro East reporting beat. He dove right into the Metro East community. One of his first stories was on the 100th anniversary of Cruda's Bakery.
Their kitchen turns out hundreds of fresh baked goods each day. Danishes, donuts, breads, and according to locals, the best gooey butter cake you can find.
Reporting like that earned Eric a Crystal Mike Award for Best Reporter in the Large Market Radio Division from the Illinois News Broadcasters Association. In 2022, Eric moved over to cover economic development, and he covered that beat with an eye toward creativity and bringing us places. For example, a story about development along the river got us into the water.
Before we can go anywhere, we review river safety and each cinch up a life jacket. Then it's time to carry the canoe down to the river's edge and get paddling upstream.
Eric also has a knack for looking at economic development reporting from all sorts of angles, aiming to help the audience understand and see how businesses affect their lives.
We're going to work through this story a little backward, starting at the end of the process. A tax sale on the steps of the civil courthouse downtown.
Opening bid to you, sir, is $9,150.
Eric also led an investigation with the Midwest Newsroom into groundwater contamination in Springfield, Missouri, which earned honors from the Edward R. Murrow Awards and investigative reporters and editors. Other highlights include his comprehensive coverage of St. Louis figuring out how to spend Ram settlement money, and a string of stories in the last year that dove deep into the currents beneath a wave of redevelopments in downtown St. Louis, North County, and elsewhere. More importantly, though, Eric has been a great colleague, looking out for other people in the newsroom and making our journalism better. Selfishly, I'm sure going to miss him, and I'm going to miss our chats. He's been one of my first friends here at STLPR. He helped me get through my first radio feature about a year ago now, and has gone out of his way to welcome me into the organization, something he does for everyone around here, and I'll always be thankful for that. And I'll be thankful for his general swagger and his excellent shoe and brooch game. We'll miss that in this newsroom. But we wish Eric all the best of luck in his next journalistic endeavors.
I'm Eric Schmid, St. Louis Public Radio.
The Gateway is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri-St. Louis. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Abby Larico, and from the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this has been The Gateway.